What's up, taste buds? You're about to watch our interview with DJ Zone. You can watch the full episode of that podcast anywhere you get podcasts. You can listen to it. If you want to watch the video version, go to YouTube or Spotify. This is the by itself, but the full episode, episode 59, is anywhere you get your podcast. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy this interview.
Do that, Conan, or I'll beat you on that if you don't.
Then you would be recovery.
I'm a grown man in token shape in my butt.
Oh, it's pretty good.
This is crazy. We gotta edit this.
Taste you later, taste buds.
Okay. Oh, we gained a DJ Zone, everybody.
What's going
Hey,
on?
welcome.
Hey, how's it
Welcome
going?
to the podcast.
Welcome to the pod. Shit, I dropped my camera.
Dope.
How you doing, Zone?
Pretty good. Not too
well-
chaps, just hanging out.
I love it. Welcome to Acquired Taste. This is episode 59. You're like our 7th or 8th guest. We're super excited to have you.
Dope.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm just in my house, so yeah, I don't know. I'm here.
That's
but I'm
where we
not,
are.
but I'm here.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think all of us are in our respective houses. I wanted to get started off with how did you get started?
Yes. So, started. So, I guess I started as a DJ, scratching, turntablist. When I was like 17-ish is when I started like doing shows and stuff like that. I was a professional magician for 10 years before that. Yeah, so I was a professional magician for 10 years. When I was 13, I started doing magic. Different, I don't know, like I worked at Huber's downtown, Portland's oldest bar and restaurant since 1879. And was like the house magician there, and then did like private parties and corporate banquets and stuff. The Blazers flew me to Palm Springs when I was 16 to entertain all their corporate sponsors.
Yeah.
I did parties for like Nike and stuff like that, and Phil Knight and whatnot, and was like doing that as like a job forever. And then when I was 17, had a night at a party on mushrooms, actually, and switched my focus, I guess, towards music. I had this night where I just kind of found myself in a bit of a loop, thinking about all the magicians that I looked up to were these guys that like wrote books in the 40s that changed the way people thought about cards forever, and now they're like the weird 70-year-old dude at the restaurant doing card tricks for 8-year-olds and making balloon animals and stuff. And I was like, seems like such a waste of potential.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to focus more on music than magic. I still did magic for a living for like 5 years because that's where my money was coming from. But yeah, I started focusing more on music, and I had some friends from high school. I like rapped a little bit in high school, and so they hit me up about a little bit after we graduated, I guess, and were like, hey, are you still rapping? And I was like, no, I'm scratching, actually. I'm like a DJ now. And they were like, perfect, we need a DJ. And so they invited me to, or they came over to my place and introduced me to Max Graves and John Doe, who John Doe passed away in 2012. Yeah, and anyway, the people I was talking about that I went to high school with were actually Nick Flawless from Bad Habitat, and this guy, Dr. Seuss, who now lives in California, but to this day, one of the best freestyle like battle rappers I've ever met. But yeah, I went to high school with them, and we were all kind of like doing stuff, and then we formed a group called Lethal Audio. When we were like 17, 18.
Tight.
And
I too am good at naming things.
You said what?
I too am really good at naming things.
Yeah. Exactly. And so then at a certain point, me and Max kind of broke off from that group. John and Troy got really deep into drugs, and me and Max, like, they just kind of do coke and talk about what they were going to do when they got famous. And we were like, that's cool. We're going to be over here like
Yeah.
recording stuff. Like, I don't know. And so we kind of, and then Nick got this like girlfriend that never let him leave the house and was super overbearing and didn't want him like doing music and stuff. And so he kind of wasn't making beats or doing things for a while. And so me and Max kind of broke off and started our own thing called Master and Mind. And then we started doing shows around. Same night, I met Sleep and Daps, and me and Max and Daps started Nightcrawlers, and then me and Sleep started kind of doing stuff together shortly after that. And yeah, then it was like off to the races. Me and Sleep started touring a bunch. Nightcrawlers started doing stuff. We actually, that's how I met Macklemore. We for our CD release party, we paid Macklemore $200 to come down from Olympia and open up for a CD release party at the Satyricon.
Wow. Damn.
Back in the day, he had the MySpace song. This was like 2007, 6 or 7 or something like that. And yeah, he was like, we were like, oh, he's like blowing up. He's got the MySpace song because when you went to myspace.com, that was the song that played. He like won a contest on MySpace. And so when he went to like the MySpace, huh?
Holy fuck! I had zero idea
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, it was all these things. I'm like trying to, I'm like all the stuff. So
$200 for Macklemore show is crazy. That's like
yeah. So yeah, this was like 2006, 2007. I think he just had like Language of My World was like his first album that he had released. I didn't know much about him. Our manager at the time is who convinced us to get him, and she was like, you should check him out. And I saw he had the MySpace song, and then I went to his page and he had a song about having like a little dick or something, and I was like, that's cool. I get what he does. And then my homie Geppetto showed me White Privilege. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, so we can do this too. And I don't know if you've ever heard the original White Privilege song, the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like 2005, 6, or I think 2004 is maybe when that came out. But
Jesus.
I remember it really like hit me because I was like, I've never, at the time, nobody was like talking like that or like thinking that way in like the underground hip hop scene about like, just really like self-examining, like, am I part of the problem by being a white guy in hip hop, and like are we doing the same thing
I
to
feel like
hip
the
hop that we did to
attitude was
jazz?
the opposite
Mhm.
prior of white
Yeah.
people feeling oppressed in hip hop
Yeah,
and like wearing that like that was
totally.
cool.
There
Yeah,
was a
I
lot of
totally
that,
agree.
and so it was like, huh, okay. So he's got, and that was the thing that caught XP too, who XP and Macklemore have a group together called Step Cousins. That's when I first met all them. They were Step Cousins, and then XP is part of our crew, Old Dominion, and kind of the larger group of that. But yeah, that was the thing that caught XP too, was like he met Macklemore in like the battle rap circuit, and he was like, you're not a battle rapper. Like, you are really good at writing, but like that's what you need to be focused on,
Right.
is like writing and stuff. And so yeah, that was like, I don't know, around that time. And yeah, so me and Sleep started touring together. We had a group with this guy Zelly Rock, who's like a reggae singer, combination locked, that we were like touring and doing that like dance hall hip hop genre, bendy mixered stuff that was super fun. And then the Chicharrones, which is me and Sleep and Josh Martinez. And yeah, Um, yeah, all sorts of things. I don't know. That's short overview of I guess like the beginnings of me like actually touring and stuff. But I could go even deeper into like how I like got into hip hop.
Yeah,
But
what were your early? We have like a Google AI summary of you. Do you want
okay,
to give us like
yeah.
your
Let me hear
tell
what that is.
tell us what's true and what isn't? So we got real name Patrick Lawrence,
Yeah, yeah.
base
Lorenz.
Portland, Oregon.
Hmm.
Early influences are classical music, jazz, ragtime, 60s, 70s rock, and early hip hop mixtapes.
Yeah, that actually is surprisingly accurate. Okay.
Damn, it's good.
Okay.
They got their stuff right.
Your craft is dedicated hours of scratch practice, influenced by turntablists like Jazzy Jeff and D Styles.
Uh-huh.
Your local
Wow.
crews are the Chicharrones, Grey Skull, Old Dominion, Mastermind, Nightcrawlers, and Proper Knocks. I think you talked about most
Yeah.
of or all of those during
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Uh,
Proper Knox started out as Big Bang, which was like me and 15 rappers, and then turns out
relatable.
there's a yeah, exactly. That's why when I first started recording you guys, I was like, man, this just reminds me of being like my early 20s and stuff. This is like exactly what we were doing. Just the way you guys all joke around and stuff and just like everything about it. I was like, this just hits me right in the heart. Right in the feels.
Right in the
It's good.
nostalgia feels.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is the best. But we actually had to change our name to Proper Knox because apparently there's a K-pop group called Big Bang.
You can't compete with
But what's
K-pop.
funny is we
Hard
only
to
put out
compete.
one video, and it has like I want to say like 60,000 views or something like that on it because of the name Big Bang. People thought it was the K-pop
It's
group.
got
And
60,000
so it
views.
just got like mad views, and we were like, "Oh, okay, cool. We can like capitalize this on a little
Absolutely.
bit before we have to
change.
stop doing that." Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. It says
That's
tours.
crazy. It's gotten so much of this right so far.
I was so
I'm like, this is
prepared for you to
pretty-
dismantle this. That's absolutely crazy. Tours,
Yeah.
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis and Aesop Rock, including the Impossible Kid in parentheticals.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you've been on Rap Station and Cliff Notes podcasts for notable interviews thus far.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the end of just the summary at a glance that we got from our
That's
Google
so
AI
funny.
overview.
Dude, AI's, man, that scares the shit out of
It's
me.
locked
AI.
in now, yeah. It's insane.
That's surprisingly really accurate. I don't know if I could have summed it up better myself in fewer words than that.
That's crazy.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, they hit all the major points.
I think we've
And I
looked up
feel like
ourselves through
they
the
didn't
AI.
really like miss a ton, and they didn't add any like weird shit that like I didn't have anything to do
I
with.
thought you were
that I'm
going to be like, I've never listened to classical music at the very least.
Yeah,
and he was
yeah.
like, how does it know that?
Yeah, I'm like, what? No, literally, I was gonna say, yeah. So my grandma was like a classical piano teacher. And so I grew up with my mom and my grandma. My mom was into like classic rock and stuff. My grandma was like classically trained piano player, and her boyfriend was a jazz drummer. So I grew up with a lot of like classical and jazz drum shit. And then like my mom listened to classic rock. And then my mom's boyfriend, when I was 4, was this guy named Cisco Kid from San Jose. And what's really weird, full circle shit, is him and Sleep were doing shows together back in the early 90s. When I was 4 years old and he was dating my mom, he would go out and do shows. He was doing shows with Sleep. And then 20 years later, I became Sleep's DJ. And I'm
Damn.
like, what the fuck, weird. Like, we realized that at some point. We were like, I was telling him about like, oh yeah, my mom's boyfriend was this guy named Cisco Kid. And he was like, wait, was he like an Italian dude with like a fucking fedora and like a little, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, I used to do shows with him back in like the early 90s. I met him like, like we had the same studio as like the early like Oracle's Creed shit, I think, which was Sleep, Ornery, and Pale. It was like Five Fingers of Funk and like what's it called? The Lifesavers, and like them were all like recording at the same studio. And so I actually went to that studio when I was like 4 years old and didn't have any idea. My mom recorded some background vocals for a song there. And I was like playing around in the pool. I just remember there was a pool in the back, and Sleep was like, yeah, that was the spot. And I was like, oh, that's so fucking weird. Like
Wow.
that it was all like connected from that young. I had no idea about Old Dominion or any of that. But so Cisco Kid, my mom's boyfriend, would leave like mixtapes laying around. And so that's when I got like introduced to hip hop and stuff. And like I would go to school listening on my Walkman, which dates me, but the my little tape player, I would listen to fucking, it would be like Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer and Bell Biv DeVoe and Phil Collins and like all that stuff all mixed together.
all
But
over
the
the
first
place.
time it was just like all kinds of crazy stuff like mixed together. But I remember the first time I heard scratching was Marvelous Marvin and DJ Cash Money, Ugly People Be Quiet was the name of the song. And there's this part in it where it's like transiform, and I remember being 4 years old and like rewinding this tape over and over again in my bed, being like, what is making that sound? What is like, I just like couldn't wrap my brain around what it was, like so weird and like interesting sounding. And I imagine like some mad scientist in a computer room with all these switches and levers pulling stuff, and like because it sounded kind of like computerized almost, but it was like had a funky human element
It
to
has a
it.
physical feel, like you're physically
Mhm.
distorting something in
Yeah,
a way that
yeah,
like,
yeah.
mixing doesn't
And
do.
so I was like, I can't figure out what's doing that. I remember playing it for my grandma, and she's like a music teacher. So I was like, what instrument is this? And she was like, I have no idea. It sounds cool, but I don't know what that is. And I was like, shit. So she doesn't even know. What could this be? And then when I was 7 years old, um I saw what's his name? Fucking Grandmaster Rock Rada from the Executioners was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. And he was like doing a whole like DJ set or whatever. And that was like the moment that it was like, oh, it's turntables. That's what that sound is. And I didn't understand everything that was going on, but I remember instantly understanding the crossfader on the mixer and understanding the concept of like, okay, when it's over there, it's that turntable. When it's over there, it's that turntable. And the middle is both. I remember instantly kind of like understanding that part of it. And then like ran over to my mom's record player and started scratching Hotel California. And then she came home and was like, what are you doing with my records? You're going to break them. And yeah. And so what's crazy is nowhere on the internet is there any record of Rock Rada being on Saturday Night Live as the musical guest. I've tried searching for it. There's no video. There's no mention in Wikipedia or anything. There's nowhere.
Ellis, pull that up.
Yeah. So for years, I was like, maybe I remembered it wrong, but I was like, I have this core memory of being like 7 years old and seeing Rock Rada on Saturday Night Live. And so, but I've like some of the only mention is like me mentioning it in interviews, ironically enough, because I've like mentioned it in interviews. And so that's some of the only stuff you can find on the internet. My homie David was looking it up at one point and he's like, oh yeah, I found you mentioning it at like hiphopdx.com that like that happened, but there's nothing else on the internet of that happening. And so I did a show with Rob Swift and Mr. Sinister from Executioners. And I was telling Rob this story, and he was like, yeah, and John Goodman was the host. We were all there. And I was like, that's right. I totally forgot. I remembered how silly it was. Like John Goodman he was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Rock Rada," like just the way he sounded, trying to like explain it, like trying to introduce Rock Rada. It was like so funny to me.
I don't want to interrupt. I just looked it up. There's
definitely happened.
SNL archives. Was it 2000? May 6, 2000? It says the host was John Goodman, musical guest or musical cameo, Rock Rada.
Okay.
Okay,
2000.
Yeah,
that would
Neil Young.
See, that would have had to be later though, because I would have been 14.
Let me see here.
So at some point in the 90s, maybe they like brought it back. Or
They could have.
something.
Yeah, let me see. I'll just look
like
that
an
up because
older
I was
episode that
curious
they
too.
Coda's
That very well
journalism
could be.
hat is on.
Yeah. That's so weird.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's a decent segue to one of the notes I had written down is I've known you for, I don't even remember exactly where we met, but I've known you going on, I think, 5 years now.
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw you, I didn't realize that I saw you, but I was in high school watching Aesop Rock perform on Stephen Colbert.
Oh, yeah.
That is the first time I ever put my eyes on you. I just didn't realize until, so we... Young Ned's first like hip hop album he consumed because he was a rock kid was I Gave Him the Impossible Kid. I was like, I think this could ease you in, and that was like a big deal for him when we were first starting the group. So when we started the podcast, we review a new album every podcast or an old album. We got back to that, and I was looking up music videos and shit from the Impossible Kid, and then was like, "Yo, that's fucking, that's Zone. He's right there.
That's dope."
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Like you've told me before that you did some tours with Macklemore and Ryan Lewis and Aesop Rock, but like, do you have any core experiences from that, or a large moment, or something that continues to impact you now?
Oh yeah, all the things. I mean, so actually, they all kind of weirdly tie together back in like 2006 or 7, 8, somewhere around there. I was DJing for Grayskull, and we were on tour opening up. So we went on this tour, and it was like a kind of 2-part tour. The first half of the tour, we were opening up for Living Legends, and then the second half, we were opening for Aesop Rock. And so on the first half, the first half was opening up for Aesop Rock. The second half was Living Legends, and that it had to be that way because of something that happened later. But so on the first half of the tour, Grayskull and their special guest was Candid from Old Dominion. And he was like, he did one verse and was doing hypes for them. And we were opening up for Aesop. And that's when I first met Aesop Rock. And we kind of clicked a bit because of the magic stuff. He's really into magic, and
that tracks.
I showed him and Rob Sonic and their tour manager James a bunch of magic stuff and blew their minds. And I can go into that. I'll go into that story in a bit. But so
blew their fucking minds. Such a Jack Black ass life you lived. Yeah.
So the second half of that was opening up for Living Legends, and Macklemore was the special guest. And so he did a verse on Grayskull's set and was doing hypes for them. And at the end, towards the end of that tour, Henri had like a panic attack and ended up having to leave the tour. And so me and Macklemore and JFK finished the last 3 shows just by ourselves. And we ended up coming together with this like crazy set that was like JFK would come out and do a couple a solo song. Like I started out like with a scratch set, and then JFK would come out and do a song, and then Macklemore would come out and do a song, and then they'd do a couple songs back and forth, and then we ended the set with me like juggling a beat and them freestyling for like 10 minutes.
That's sick.
And it was bonkers. Like the first 2 shows were pretty good, but the last show and the third time we did it was at Disneyland, at the House of Blues in Disneyland.
When the actual fuck, bro.
Yeah. So already this like starts out kind of weird because it's like 700-800 kids going to see living legends in Disneyland. And so they're all like awkward 15-year-olds standing around like being like, what's like a hip hop show at Disneyland gonna be like? Like they're already kind of everyone's kind of like awkward. And in Disneyland, everything's like by the book. Like everything happens exactly on time and everything's like super structured. So they're telling us like at exactly 9 o'clock, the curtain opens and you go on. If you're there or if you're not there, that curtain opens exactly at 9 o'clock. And so we're like, okay. And so I was like, can I get sound like 15 seconds before the curtain opens? Can you like turn the sound of my turntables on? And they were like, sure. And so I had this beat that was just like super fucking grimy, nasty, like real hard, like bass line beat. But it starts out, there's like this little sample that's like, oh, motherfucking yeah. And then it just comes in really fucking hard. And so I get sound of my turntables, curtains closed, everyone's awkwardly standing around. And then out of fucking nowhere, you just hear, oh, motherfucking yeah. And this fucking bass line comes on and just starts scratching. And it was like the place fucking exploded. Then the
Awesome.
fucking curtain opened and like everything. And it was like one of those core memories of like, oh, we fucking crushed that shit. Cause like then, and it was like, it took us a couple times of doing that set because we were used to doing the Grayskull set and then Henri had to leave. And so it took a couple times before we really nailed it. And that was like the third one and the last show of the tour. And we fucking nailed it. It was like one of
Hell
those
yeah.
ones where like the whole set, the like freestyle part at the end, everything, we like crushed it so hard that then the Balians, who were the other group playing before Living Legends, they came on and it was like the audience was just kind of like, and then Living Legends came on and the audience was just kind of like, eh. And then like backstage, everyone was like, man, that was a fucking tough crowd. I remember us just being like, just in our heads, like, yeah, not for us, motherfucker.
Right.
It was tough because you had to follow what the fuck we just did.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
That's
it
also
was like one of those
super
ones.
super relatable. Like it's super obvious when there's a bunch of random shows when there's like an actual group that has like that connection to an audience. Because we've gone on
Yeah.
at the beginning of the night and had like the greatest sets of our year, and then watched people for the entire rest of the evening, and the headliner just be
trying
smoke
to-
breaks.
Yeah. And it's like that's always one of those things. Okay, so so this was the crazy thing with that I was gonna get to real quick with the magic stuff. So when I met Aesop, I did all this like magic stuff, and I did like a ambitious card routine where the signed card keeps coming back from everywhere. It ends up in my wallet. All this stuff happens, but Aesop signed the card "Rob is gay," and so the "Rob is gay" card just like kept coming back over and over and over again. And at the end of the night, their or at the end of that, we were in the green room. Their tour manager grabbed the card and he went and put it out on the monitor speaker on stage. So they go out to do their set and they're like, yo, how's everyone doing? And then Rob's just like, what the fuck? Like flips out because he sees the Rob is gay card on the fucking monitor speaker when they go out there.
That's awesome.
And so we just kind of kept this thing going for a while. Then Tumex was there. We were in Pomona, I think, or Pasadena. It was a P somewhere in California. A P name of a place in California. And,
Sherman 42 Olivia Way, California.
yeah, somewhere one of those. And fucking Tumex was there, and so he grabbed the Rob is gay card, and we were staying at Tumex's place for that week that we were in California. And so we went there, and they had a whole setup. His roommate was D-Ski, and they had like a whole setup where they were selling all the merch out of Tumex's place. And so they had like basically a whole post office set up in their living room with like a weigh station and like all the like stamps and everything. It was all official. And so we made a letter. Then, like a couple days later, we were playing at the Troubadour, and we made a letter to to Rob Sonic at the Troubadour from Patrick Lorenz at Rob Sonic's home address, and then postmarked it for a week before that. And then we got there early and gave it to the people at the front desk at the Troubadour. And so they came in, and the lady at the front desk like played it off so fucking perfect, because they came in and she's like, "Is one of you guys a Rob Sonic?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's me." And she's like, "Oh yeah, we got this letter last week. I think they thought you were playing last week, and it's just been sitting here the whole time. I don't know." And he's like, "Oh, that's weird." And he rips open the corner, and the Rob is gay card falls out, and the look on his face, like he went outside and just chain smoked cigarettes for like 2 hours, pacing up and down the block. And like for the rest of the tour, anytime I would come in the room, he would just walk out of the room. Like he refused to be anywhere near me, because he was just like, "You're the devil, and I'm not going to be in the room."
He's in my head.
And now he has a studio in the same building with me and Zeb and everybody.
Oh wow.
That front door, when you first walk in to the other side, he's got a studio there. Best friends. We've
That's awesome.
I've known Rob now like almost 20 years. But yeah, when I first met him, he thought I was the devil for a couple months for sure. And so I met Aesop on tour, and did a lot of grimy underground hip hop, four dudes in a van trying to sell enough CDs to get enough gas to get to the next city. Tours with like Macklemore and stuff before he blew up. And then Aesop was, so him and Big Wiz. Big Wiz was his DJ for like 20 years. And then him and Big Wiz stopped doing stuff together. And he actually hit me up initially and was like, "Hey, so I have this show in New York and I can't get out of it. I've been trying to get out of it, but I have to do it. And me and Wiz aren't doing stuff together. Do you want to DJ for me for it?" And I was like, "Fucking of course, I'm super down." But I was actually on tour with the Chicharrones, I think it was Chicharrones and Scarab, and I don't remember who else. Somebody else was with us. I think Abaddon or something. But I was on tour, and so we happened to have a day off that day. So I was like, I could potentially fly from Colorado to New York, do that show, and then fly back to New Mexico and continue on with the tour. I was like, we could make that happen. But he wanted a week off to rehearse and stuff. And so I was like, fuck, I can't take a week off in the middle of this tour, like as much as I want to. Like I absolutely want to, do the show. I couldn't do it. And so he ended up getting Abilities to come out. And then he toured with Abilities for like a year. Aesop came back from that and was like, "I want you to DJ for me." And I was like, "Okay, I'm down." And so he had me do all the scratching for the Impossible Kid. And then him and Abilities had like 2 or 3 more shows that they had to do. And then I started DJing for him right after that. And that was a trip for me, because I also like grew up, listening to Aesop Rock and fucking Labor Days and stuff. And like, I don't know, weird 20 years later becoming his DJ. And then he sends me that record, because the Impossible Kid was like 90% of the way done when I recorded all the scratching for it. And I remember he sent it to me, and I guess you've got to know, if you're like an Aesop fan, that like the Impossible Kid to me was like his Chronic 2001. It was like this like total reimagining of like his style almost, where it was like, holy shit, this is like, I remember when he sent it to me, I was like, this is where we're gonna start our relationship, is at your fucking magnum opus. You're just like, the craziest album I've ever heard. Like, he did all the beats. Yeah. And yeah, so I did all the scratching for that, and he came over to my grandma's basement, and we went through records and found all the samples and stuff. And I was like, this is such a weird trip for me. Like, I was upstairs in that bedroom listening to Aesop Rock when I was 14 for the first time, and now we're downstairs in my grandma's house going through records and shit and finding samples, and like I'm putting a record together with fucking Aesop Rock. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
there's, I don't know. We like went down the street to the Plaid Pantry and got For Real ice creams. And I remember like, this is such a weird day. Just like the summer, Portland, fucking eating For Reals with Aesop Rock at my grandma's house.
That's huge.
It's like, this is so bizarre. But yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, hey,
Things.
we've talked a bunch about like what you've done before, but like, who are you listening to nowadays? What inspires you now? Like, what keeps you going, I guess?
I honestly, I don't get a chance to listen to like a ton of new music, but I do. There's like definitely people that I hear like, Toby Wigway and fucking JID and like people that like catch me, that I'm like, oh shit, okay. And it's honestly, I'm gonna say the majority of music that I listen to that inspires me is people I record. Running a recording studio now for the last 14 years, the majority of stuff I hear, I spend, 14 to 16, 18 hours a day, sometimes in the studio recording stuff. And so the majority of stuff I just like hear people. And I will say this, I'll say the last like 6 or 7 months, I've noticed a pretty dramatic shift in like new artists that I've been recording. Pretty much everybody new that has come in that are like 19, 20-year-old kids that are like lyrical, that are doing like lyrics, I feel like are coming back in a super huge way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
good
like
stuff.
90s, it's the 90s again. This is what's happening. And it's the thing I've noticed, like when was doing like 808s and Heartbreak and stuff, it was like the 80s. He brought the 80s back with like the shades and fucking the style, and even 808s, originally from the 80s. Everything about it was like, I remember being like, okay, it's the 80s again, and he's brought this decade. I was like, does that mean in 10 years it's going to be like the 90s again? I was like, that'll be pretty cool. And now it's happening.
Yeah, here
And
we
you
are.
like, yeah, like 18, 19-year-old kids are like buying Jinkos and like
Yeah.
fucking like Tamagotchis and playing with tech decks and stuff, and like all this like 90s stuff that I'm like, oh, this makes me feel crazy. But it's like, oh, it's the 90s again. I crush this era. This is
There
like,
you
this
go.
is, I know this decade so well. This is perfect. But yeah, that's the thing I'm seeing lately a ton. And it just makes me like happy in my heart. It's like every 10 years, the styles kind of come back around and do the same things. And it's like, it feels like to me right now that there's like this big resurgence of like lyrics and like boom bap style beats.
Hell
And
yeah.
like that kind of stuff is like coming back around right now. And I'm like, okay, and here's the interesting thing. Here's the thing that really trips me out is all these kids, I've talked to all of them, and none of them are aware of the late 90s, early 2000s, like backpacker scene. None of them grew up on that. They're not aware of any of these people. They grew up on like, Lil Wayne and 50 Cent and Migos and stuff, and just naturally by themselves got to the same conclusion. Like
Yeah.
they like were like, okay, how do I do this in my own way? And then got to the place we were at in the late 90s without any influence, without anything that sounded like that being in their wheelhouse. And I like name these people like, Black Alicious and Saul Williams and Organized Confusion. I'm like, hey, have you heard this? And they're like, they have no idea who any of these, Sage Francis or Aesop Rock or Atmosphere, or like any of that stuff is. And I'm like, that's even cooler, because there was like a whole generation of kids that grew up on that and then were copying that. And it kind of like was like weirdly disingenuous in a weird way. I remember, there was like a whole 4 or 5 year of kids that were like all trying to be Aesop Rock, and it's like, okay, but we have an Aesop Rock. Like you don't need to be another one. Like that already exists. And it's like it feels like it's coming back around to where, I don't know, people are like, they're remembering how to like be unique again. And like the core of like hip hop is like, like doing something different and trying to, taking from the past and learning, but then like flipping it on its head and doing it your own way. And like that's always, I feel like, what it's been about. And it feels like after 10 years of everybody kind of sounding the same, it's like I feel like it's coming back around and people are like trying to sound different again. And so it makes me be like, okay, hip hop's in good hands. It's fine. It's fine. I don't have to worry about the future of where hip hop's going, because there's always kids that surprise me and like new people coming out that like catch me off guard and make me be like, okay, yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if it was 20 years ago, we would have like been friends and like in the same crew. But that makes me happy. I'm recording now like people that I was like in groups with and doing shows with and stuff. I'm recording their kids now, who are now 17,
Crazy.
18, 19. Like, I don't know if you know like Sand People. So they were like kind of, so if you know like Old Dominion, Sand People was like Young Dominion almost. They were like the kind of like 10 years younger than Old Dominion, but like a big Portland hip hop crew of like 10 people. And it was like Al One and Sapient and Moby and Simple and Goldini.
That's crazy. I just booked L1's kid at a show and met him for
Yeah,
the first time.
so that's who I'm talking about. Al One's
yeah.
kid is who I just recorded. And I'm like, this makes my brain explode because he sounds just like fucking Al One, but like different. Like his style is different and he's doing his own thing, but like his voice and the way he laughs and stuff. And like, he's like behind my head talking. And I'm like, this makes me feel so weird because like I've known Al One for like 20 something years. And now I'm like recording his kid and it's insane.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's cool, like hearing you even saying like, working with Bad Habitat in your early days and stuff, or like just how everything loops around together. Like nowadays you can go in Portland and if you go to a local show, you'll meet someone who's doing something. Like chances are someone else who you've worked with, or they're doing like it's all like very connected, especially like in our scene. It's really cool to see. Like even what you were saying, you're recording their kids and everything like that. It's honestly super dope.
That's a great segue, actually, I think, to what is generally our final question. We don't want to keep you too long, but we have everybody that comes on.
Dude, I'll talk for a fucking week and a half.
I was going to say we need to get you on here again. Because
Absolutely.
I can't, we do like segments throughout the whole thing. And normally when we have a guest, we'll cancel one or two. And I was like, let's just cancel the first half of our segments to give Zone enough time to talk because he'll have shit to say. I would love to have you on again in the future. If you're down, we'll come with some more layered questions. And the last thing that we'd like to get from you is we add an album to our spin wheel every single week. And at the end of the episode, we spin the wheel and then we listen to that album next week. Do you have something you could give us to add to that wheel today?
Ooh. Yeah.
We've done the impossible, kid. We did that.
So many. There's like so many that I'm like, okay. Because I've been going through recently and like I said, like with some of these like 5 or 6 of these kids that I've been recording that are like younger kids, I'm like introducing them to all this stuff that they had no idea about that's like blowing their minds, that I'm like, oh, fucking check this out. Okay. I'm gonna say I'm like because there's like multiple things that are like going through my head that I'm trying to pick one of them.
Sure.
I think one that would have like a lot of good stuff going on it and is probably like an underappreciated an album. I know when it came out, I didn't really feel it at the time. It was like 2005, and a lot of really dope albums came out in 2005, and I think it kind of got overshadowed. But Black Alicious's The Craft is an amazing album going back and listening to it now. It's got some fucking bangers on it, and like just the piece ups of like lyrical like cadences and shit the Gift of Gab is doing on that record are bananas. This song, Pad and the Pen, he keeps the same cadence going through the whole song, and it blows my mind every time I hear it. But that album, Black Alicious, The Craft, is probably one of his like underappreciated albums that like NIA is like his probably one of his more well-known albums that had like, I think Alphabet Aerobics was on that, like Make You Feel That Way, and like all his kind of the one song Don't Let Money Change It, like I'm pretty sure that's on there too. That's like probably the album that people go back to the most. But The Craft, I remember when it came out being like, it's okay, but I'm not like super feeling it that much. But going back on it now, 20 years later, it's way tighter than I remember it being. And I feel like I slept on it when it came out, and it's really good. But I'll just throw that out there.
It's been added. I added it to the wheel. I did have one question because I know
I was gonna say I got one last thing for you before
me
we get you out
and
of here
Andrew
too.
both probably got a question. My question for you.
Then we got to find out if Ned hated King Von.
I know. It's because I knew you first as an engineer, like going to your studio, and then I learned about everything that you've done, as a DJ. But I wanted to ask you, as an engineer, what is your go-to can't live without plugin?
I had never thought to ask that question. I thought you were saying you and Andrew had the same question.
That's a great question. That makes me feel like I'm on Pensato's
because
place.
I took a lot of notes. Like every time I'm in the studio with you, because you get my voice to sound pretty much better than a lot of other engineers I've gone to. So I just want to know what's your go-to, or like
So I think what I'd say on vocals, I'm a big fan of this plugin called Soothe.
Okay.
And it's like relatively cheap, but it's kind of like I've been really interested in a lot of the newer like AI plugins that are coming out, because I feel like it's the first wave of plugins that are doing something new with audio. Like most plugins are based on like hardware from like the 70s and 80s, and it's like they're emulating pieces of hardware. And it's like, that's cool. We already have the hardware version of that. This is like the digital version. But nobody's really doing anything new with plugins for the most part. And there's a wave of stuff like Ozone and Soothe and some of these new EQs and stuff. There's a couple things that I don't have that I want to get that have been on my radar lately, that they're using AI in a way that's really interesting. And like it's like to me it's like the first new thing I've seen in 20-30 years that's like new in audio. Like every year video quality gets better at 4K, 6K, 8K, 12K, whatever the fuck they get. Music quality has pretty much, like sound audio quality has pretty much stayed the same since the 90s. Like since the CD era, like the early 90s, it kind of hit a wall, and we haven't really progressed much past that as far as audio quality. And I feel like it's the first new thing I've seen, the like AI stuff. So like Soothe is a really great plugin. You got to be super careful with it, because if you go too far, it'll completely take the life out of the vocals and make it sound super flat and boring, and like take all the like charm out of it. But if you use it very sparingly, it goes through and does like I think 300 corrections per second,
Wow.
where it kind of like automatically EQs stuff. I don't really know what it is. It's not an EQ. It's not a compressor. It's not a saturator.
This is going to be
It
S&D's
just kind
favorite
of does
episode.
a little bit of all of it, but in a unique way.
Yeah.
And if you use it super sparingly, it just kind of smooths things out and does stuff that would take hours and hours to do manually.
That's the
with
type
EQ.
of stuff I'm looking for, is
Yeah.
things like that can kind of automate the
But
process.
again, it's like you got to be really
Right.
careful with it. I'll like push it and then I'll back it up and use it at like 10 to 20%, like the
Okay.
mix part of it. I'll use it like the most like 20 or 30%, because if you go further than that, like I said, it'll just like take all the life out of a vocal
Gotcha.
and just make it sound like a robot did it. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? But it just like, it makes it sound too clean. And then like all the life goes out of it. Like a lot of AI stuff,
Yeah.
you know, where it's like,
Takes the
that's
art out of
the
it.
thing is like, you got to be careful to like keep the human
Element.
life in it still. But there's a lot of cool stuff with AI that you can just kind of use as little massaging things and little extra spice
Use
on
them
stuff.
rotten clankers to our advantage.
Yeah.
I'm adding that to the
Exactly.
cart. Who makes that
Get
one?
these robots to work for us.
All right, Andrew, do you have a final question?
Us working
Yeah, I got-
for all the robots like we're gonna be in like 4 years or so.
Yeah, let's have them.
Uh,
let's have them broke back for right now.
Yeah.
All right.
What you got, Sandy?
Yeah, hopefully one last thing and then we'll get you out of here. So you're putting
Yeah,
together
no.
a tour. You can use any genres, any artists, any eras, type of thing like that, but you get a headliner, an opening act, and a DJ. Who are you picking?
Excellent question.
Oh shit. Okay. Dang, that's a crazy one. Okay. So
He had so much
Okay.
confidence with that first inhale.
yeah, there's so many different places to go with this. Okay. I'm gonna try to answer this in the right way. So DJ would be RJD2, because I think to this day, one of the better live DJs I've ever seen in my life. We can talk about that another time too. Opening act would be JFK from Grayskull, because he is the best person to have on tour, just for moral support and keeping everybody's spirits high. JFK is like the funniest person in the world and one of the best people to have on tour with you, because he just keeps everything fucking high energy, party, super awesome, hilarious the whole time. And the headliners who I'm having trouble with, because I'm like, what direction do I go with that? I guess if you said any genre, any time period, that opens up a lot of other doors that
Mozart.
yeah. I'm like, well, I guess Pink Floyd would be like the headliner with JFK and RJD2. JFK opening, RJD2 is the DJ, Pink Floyd is the headliner. That tour would crush.
Hell yeah. Love it. Love it.
I'm going broke to go to this tour.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Zone. We are for sure gonna have to have you back. Can we get one more favor?
Absolutely.
Can you say "taste you later, taste buds" to our audience?
Taste you later, taste buds.
Nailed
Beautiful.
it.
Love it.
Killed it. Have a great night, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank
Yeah,
you
we'll
so
catch up.
much.
Absolutely, you too.
Peace out,
Have a
bro.
good one.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
Do that, Coda, or I'll beat you on that if you don't.
Then you would be recovery.
I'm a grown man in token shaped, my butt.